Sound check, 1, 2, 3. Sound check, 1, 2, 3. This is better, right?
Your hair looks really great.
Oh, thank you.
So, do you want me to do what I do for Chrissy?
Hello, hello.
Now when it's time to,
Yeah?
because we're already live, but it's doing the slides right now.
Okay. Do the same thing. Yeah. All right. Yeah, it was quiet. I suffered through my sermon. I know, God knows what's going to come out of my mouth. But it was really nice and quiet, and the cup was just touching. It was like, how they know? I'm just keep going, all right?
Walking through, and Russell was like, oh, this is what we have to get Jametta. This is what we have to get Jametta.
I loved it because I don't have a bug. It has joy on it. You know, I have one that has peace, and it was great. So, thank you.
I think we're going to have a small crowd, so if you want to wait a few
Of course, we're gonna have a small crowd.
I know.
The day after Christmas.
I know. Next year it's going to be Christmas Day. You think we'll have a Christmas Day service? Who knows?
Oh, of course we will. Well, we should.
We should.
We should. Now, whether we will or not, up to heavens, but we should.
Now, if we were Catholic, we'd be there at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. I am not wearing my robe. Is that okay?
Oh, you're absolutely fine
Oh,
not
good.
wearing your robe.
I'm like,
Yeah, I like what you're wearing. Yeah.
hey, folks, get your medal. I did. Did you?
Now, was your sign in the state of your
Yeah, he was with me over the years. His mother.
more Mr. Nice Man.
Yes. No, no,
No more Mr. Nice Man.
yes. Oh, wow, people.
Good morning and welcome to all. I'm so glad to see all of you that you're not dashing through the shopping mall, but you're here. So welcome. Season's greetings to all. Aloha, shalom, salam, namaste. And I'm going to open with some beautiful words. Christmas Waiting to be Born by Howard Thurman. Where refugees seek deliverance that never comes, and the heart consumes itself, if it would live, where little children age before their time, and life wears down the edges of the mind, where the old man sits with the mind grown cold, while bones and sinew, blood and cell go slowly down to death, where fear companions each day's life, and perfect love seems long delayed. Christmas is waiting to be born. In you, in me, in all of humankind. Thank you.
Arise, your light is come, the Spirit's call obey. Show forth the glory of your God that shines on you today. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Hither, page, and stand by me, if you know it telling, yonder peasant, who is he, where and what his dwelling? Sigh, he lives a good league hence, underneath the mountain, right against the forest fence, by St. Agnes' fountain. Bring me drink and bring me meat, bring me pine logs hither, you and I will see him eat, when we bear them thither. Page and monarch, forth they went together, through the cold wind's wild lament, and the bitter weather. Sire, the night is darker now, and the wind blows stronger. Fails my heart, I know not how, I can go no longer. Mark my footsteps, my good page, tread now in them boldly. You shall find the winter's rage, freeze thyself less coldly. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dented. Heat was in the very sod which the saint had printed. Therefore people all be sure, wealth or rank possessing, you who now will bless the poor, shall yourselves find a blessing.
So I woke up Christmas morning not seeing Santa escaping from the chimney, but I saw the beautiful launch of James Webb telescope. Did any of you get to see that? But let me just tell you, I was pretty astounded about the engineering marvel of James Webb telescope. And I'll just give you a little background. The Hubble telescope lasted about 30 years. It went only up to about 400 kilometers above Earth. But the James Webb telescope is going to go 1.5 million kilometers from the Earth. And the mission is to see the birth of the universe and see how the galaxies and the stars about 13.5 billion years ago, and in the words of the NASA administrator, to understand our place in this galaxy and in this Earth. But the beautiful words of Howard Thurman will help us to understand our place in the community. Will light candles this Christmas. I will light candles this Christmas, candles of joy despite all the sadness, candles of hope where despair keeps watch, candles of courage for fears ever present, candles of peace for tempest-tossed days, candles of grace to ease heavy burdens, candles of love to inspire all my living, candles that will burn all year long. This will help us to understand our place right here. Thank you.
Good morning. Now comes to the point in our service where we have joys and concerns. And for many years, for 2 weeks out of the summer, I've had the privilege of going to Chautauqua Institution in Western New York. And just a few days ago, the president of Chautauqua Institution wrote this letter, and I thought it was so timely and applies to our congregation, so I'd like to read it here for you. Wherever and however you celebrate this time of year, I hope the coming days bring you comfort, joy, and time with cherished loved ones. After these past 2 years, I think we all appreciate anew that simply being in each other's company can be the greatest gift in a season of gift giving. And while this is meant to be a season full of happiness and celebration, we also recognize that many folks find themselves experiencing considerable pain and strife as 2021 comes to an end. To those within our community who are suffering, we offer a collective warm and loving embrace. As Maria Rilke wrote in Letters to a Young Poet, believe in a love that is being stored up for you like an inheritance, and have faith that in this love there is a strength and a blessing so large that you can travel as far as you wish without having to step outside it. I see the spirit of this church and of the Chautauqua community reflected in those words. A few days ago, we crossed the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere, marking the beginning of winter. It has always struck me as sort of poignant that winter, in contrast with summer, which of course we revere here at Chautauqua, is one of the two seasons in which our share of daylight expands each day. I find a great deal of hope in that. We must make light and warmth for ourselves in these darkest days of the year, blessedly kindled by Christmas, Hanukkah, and the other holidays of the season. And just when we've grown weary of carrying that burden, time and nature knowingly step in. We have all carried a great burden these past 2 years, only magnified in recent days by the anxiety of another pandemic wave. Yet we must have faith that this is not our fate, that these dark days will in time yield, and we will be better for having weathered them together. In the meantime, we will continue to make light and warmth for ourselves and each other. And now if we could take a deep breath. Spirit of love, Spirit of life, it's with gratitude that we come together for the fond memories of friends and family that have gone before us, for what is special to us in each season, for the one best thing that happened to us this year, and for the life of Desmond Tutu. We are concerned about children who are ill, for adults facing transitions, and people who are sad, tired, depressed, and are just done with 2021. May we find comfort, may we give comfort, may we find courage to carry on and help others to carry on. And in a short moment of silence, we make our unspoken concerns known. May it be so.
This is a day of new beginnings, time to remember and move on, time to believe what love is bringing, laying to rest the pain that's gone. Then let us with the Spirit's daring step from the past and leave behind our disappointment, guilt, and grieving, seeking new paths and sure to find. Christ is alive and goes before us to show and share what love can do. This is a day of new beginnings. Our God is making all things new.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Claudia Presley, and I'm the Director of Finance and Operations here at TVUUC. Today is a Generosity Offering Sunday. What that means is that 100% of your contribution that is not marked as a pledge goes to the General Operating Fund of TVUUC. The reason that it's important for you to give to that fund is because during the 2 years that we've been out for the pandemic, we have had folks that have had financial hardships. We understand that. We've had folks that have not been able to pledge, that have pledged at reduced levels, but we have still had operating expenses within our building, for building repairs, for staff salaries, for many other things, and some of them have increased quite a bit, like helping our neighbors through the food pantry and some of the other organizations that we work with. So, today, if you have the means to give, we encourage you to give generously. If you are in a situation where you cannot, then we ask you to keep us in your thoughts and prayers. The ways that you can give are, if you're in the sanctuary right now, there are offering baskets at the end of each wall of the chancel. You can put in checks or cash there as you leave. If you're giving online, you can text give to the number 73256, type in TVUUC and the amount that you would like to give. Or you can go to our website and give through tvuuc.org/give. So once again, we encourage you to be generous on this Generosity Sunday. Thank you.
I always have to wait to that last chord. There's a part of me that wishes that we just do hymns and songs. David plays, Reginald sings, David plays, Reginald sings, and then I get up and say closing words. Because and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to stand here. One, because I can't make that step today. And two, because in the past, I normally walked. I normally was like among the people. And then I came here and it's this beautiful whatever. And I never adjusted. So I'm going to let you know now, this is informal. This is not high service. This is not someone who's going to be, very stern and whatnot. So if you're uncomfortable with that, I tell you, sit still and be uncomfortable and enjoy. Okay? It's all right. And my first question is, what are you all doing here this morning? I don't know about you, but I stayed home, but I fixed this huge dinner. I played with my gifts. I relaxed, and I kept wondering, I'm like, why are you here? But other than I have to be here, I always came for Christmas Day or the day after because it reminded me of why I practice my spirituality in a church. I look forward to being with people who share that need. I look forward to seeing people and saying, "Hi, how are you?" And I also look forward to saying, "How have you been? How are you?" And if you're new and I've never seen your face before, it takes a lot of me to not run up to you and start, talking. It's like, and what kind of dog do you have? It's a time to see your community, to join them. So I come to this, even though I feel, and yes, I'll be leaning, that this is an artificial time. Then let's be real and honest about this. This is a holiday that both Druids and pagans and the Romans celebrated. And in order to convert more people to Christianity, we made it Christmas. And this has nothing to do with a Jewish baby whose parents were going to pay taxes. All right? But we have created this holiday because because they wanted to convert people, but two, we have grown it to mean more than that. Now, I know it seems to be slipping toward materialism, shopping, and whatever. But there's still that moment, that time when we get together and we hear the voices and the playing and we rejoice and remembering what it was like with our childhood, with our friends. We remember that. And so that's why I come. And I hope that you come for those same things. And I promise I will make it short. Today we face the issues of poverty, the treatment of children, of hunger, of immigrants, but we are dealing with the same issues that Jesus dealt with over 2,000 years ago. In fact, these issues have been here since the day humans stepped foot on this earth. We've always fought the other person because we didn't know who they were. We didn't always treat the widows, the children well. And this particular prophet, Jesus, came to talk about that. Like, what should we do? How do we do it? We try. And I'm really going to give it a benefit of a doubt. I believe we try to live good lives, but we steadfastly ignore the words of not only Jesus, but any spiritual leader that has walked this earth. Bishop Desmond Tutu was nonviolent and believed in that and worked for reconciliation in South Africa. He died Sunday. And when I read that, my heart dropped because I felt another person who cared has left this world. That we are facing horrible ways of thinking again throughout the world. It's not here, just here. We are facing this throughout the world. So that means we have to be attentive to what is good. Now, a mystic named Howard Thurman wrote different words for Christmas. He wrote other words, and I would advise you, go read them. But he was born in Florida and had to move 300 miles away to go to high school. Now, I want you to think, if you had to go to high school and you had to move 300 miles away and away from your family, because that was the only school you could go to because you were black, how many people would choose to just stay in their homes and learn to be a sharecropper? This man chose differently. And he went on to become the dean of the Howard University Theology. But what is more impressive is that in 1944, he moved to California, and he and another clergyman started the first interracial church. 1944. Now, that was not so much dangerous in San Francisco, but keep in mind that same kind of level of discrimination still existed. He eventually came back to one of the most racist, discriminatory places, Boston, Massachusetts, and he became the dean at Boston University. Now understand that a black man who is dean in Boston in 1940s, 50s. I come from the Northeast. I know we like to hold it over people born in the South that we're better than them. We're not. Far from it. Totally the same. We just do it in a different way. And so this man led a white university in divinity in Boston. So, what is exciting is that he, again, made a church of interracial nature. So, he recognized the danger in identifying the circumstances of a person's life as evidence for circumstances of the person's spirituality. Now, let me explain that to you. Just because you're a professor at, University of Tennessee, you're not better than the janitor in that school. You both have to build and recognize your own spirituality. Too often you think, if I am a professor, then I am holy. Doesn't work that way. And the reason why he made this argument was because people felt, and still do, that black people aren't spiritually advanced because of their low social economic status. And he was saying that worldly status means nothing. It doesn't mean a thing. What means something is that you personally grow. That janitor has something to teach you, the professor. That you have to understand that it's surface what you're depending on of intelligence. No, it is not the economics. It does not mean a thing. And so he constantly felt that if people understood that these other basics were important, we would get away from, as I burp, we would get away from feeling that we were better than each other and work harder to working with each other. So, one of the things that he wrote about, and you'll notice in this sermon or service, we used all of Howard Thurman's writings. The beginning of Christmas, I will light the light of candles, and you'll hear the last one, the Christmas prayer, which was in night before last's sermon. He saw Christmas as a time to renew our commitment. And it speaks to how well that our musicians pick music. Because in the beginning, this is the time of beginning of how you think and feel. You know all those New Year resolutions you make? This is the week that you think about them. But I'm asking you now to think about how will you help to change the world, to find the lost. Where are they? Do you know who the lost are? Do you do any work with drug rehabilitation? Do you do any work with animals who are lost and suffering in shelters? Do you do work with women who have been sex trafficked and they are trying to build a new life? The broken. Do you heal the broken? That's a recipe. Listen, the recipe is to find the lost, to heal the broken, also to feed the hungry. How many of you work in our food pantry or work serving food to people or give canned goods? You see, the recipe is really simple. You have to do with your hands, not money, though money is appreciated, and please do give. But what is important is for you to understand your connection to the people who are lost, who are broken, who are hungry. Now, I'm going to say something that's really controversial. To free release the prisoners. Has anyone here done prison work? I am the worst person to do prison work, okay? As I fight it, it's kind of like my pettiness. I fight that too, but do you know what it's like to go into prison and teach reading and realize this man sitting in front of you, or woman, because I've done both, had no education and they're in their 30s. Doing prison work to release someone, not set them free, not say that they should pay their price, but to set their mind free. How do you set their mind free so that they know they are equal to people in the world? That once they pay their debt, they go out and become whole. Prison work is not easy. But when you do it, you fulfill something inside of you and not the person. Now, to rebuild nations, are you listening to this recipe? This recipe is not easy. It's kind of like when you're told, I want you to make a beef Wellington, and you go, the what? With the woo and around the what? It is difficult. This is not spaghetti and meatballs. This recipe demands that you put your mind, your heart, your soul in it. Rebuilding nations does not mean going into a nation and rebuilding it the way we've done it normally. Rebuilding is going to the people of that nation and saying, what do you need? Now, average everyday people can't do that. I mean, I can't see anyone flying here to Afghanistan and saying to the leaders, how can we help you? Right? But we can look at agencies that are still trying to work with the women there. Because you see, unless the women are free, no nation will grow. And to bring peace among others. Now, it's hard to say that because I know some days I am not filled with peace for my neighbor. I'm going to admit that. Just because I'm a minister doesn't mean I don't want to get nasty. But that peace comes within. Sometimes you can say, I understand, I accept what you said, but don't say it to me again. Because that's being honest. And that's building a relationship of integrity. To bring peace in the heart, I believe you can't have it unless you have an integrity in your relationship, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. Peace is when you know you and you're calm and you're not feeling less than and you're not feeling better than and you're not feeling arrogant, but you're feeling whole. And when you feel whole, it's a lot easier to feel peace. And the last part into making this recipe is to make music in the heart. Now, I started saying that I wanted Reginald and David to have their own service. And that kind of music, I guarantee you, when you hear them play and sing, I defy you to walk out of here not feeling a joy or a release of pain or a refocused, because they do that for you. And I say to you, find a piece of music that works. Now lately, I've been listening to Howl's Moving Castle. Anybody else know that song? Know that commercial, that animation? Listen to it. But there are other songs. Amazing Grace. I listened to Amazing Grace, and I heard it. I had a different feeling for it, a meaning for it. Or I just heard my favorite things on TikTok, and it was like incredible. And I'm thinking, this is a song. I remember this song from The Sound of Music. How come it takes on a different meaning now? Find the music in your heart. We also have another recipe from Thurman. He says, when refugees seek deliverance that never comes, immigrant work is important. Immigrant work is necessary. And we've forgotten about the children that were lost under the last administration. Remember them. Be aware of them. Because if you don't, you're looking at death of a heart, of a soul, of a body. And children who age before their time. How many of you are aware of foster care? How many of you ever taken a child in foster care? How many of you even think that they could not be or should be what do they call it, a parent, that a child can be a mentor. You can be a mentor to that child. Foster care have the image of children there are different. People find them difficult, and they are. I'm not going to pretend that they're not. But they're children who age before their time. And so feel free to volunteer, if nothing else, to be a mentor. Or the old people who sit with their minds grown cold. What can you do? Now, I know I will mention one or two nursing homes that I go to, or assisted living, and they're nice. They're really good. But you don't talk about the nursing homes that are not affluent. And listen to me when I say Shannondale, Atria, they're affluent nursing homes. There are nursing homes that are not so affluent. And people sit day in and day out and have nothing to stimulate them. You could stimulate them. You could give them something. It is important that we don't forget everything. And I say that everything is that you may not be able to do something for everything, but you can affect one aspect in the recipe. One moment, you can choose to do something different. Homelessness is something that in Knoxville should not exist. Do you know how many churches there are? Have you counted? When you go home, count the churches on the way home that you pass. And just think, if every one of those churches gave money toward housing, toward a program, there would be no homelessness here. And if you can't do that, or don't want to, you ever don't want to give that kind of money or time, make a sandwich. Now I have a question. How many people know how to make a sandwich? Now, if you don't know, all right, egg sandwich. If you know how to make a sandwich, then join our ministry when we start to make sandwiches. Again, we seek out things to do that will help people, to give them hope, to give them light, to give them love. Important thing about all of these recipes, all the things we can help in different areas, we are enriching lives. Enriching lives, giving each life a new meaning, a new feeling, a new beginning. And you can do it. Individually, you can do it. The reason why Thurman focuses so much on Christmas is that Jesus' life was a detailed example of how we should treat people, how we should see people, the innate worth of a person. And this is the time when we need to recommit ourselves to seeing the worth of a person, to see what those principles of love are. And so I'm going to read this last poem, though you will get to hear another one called The Wish, the Prayer of Christmas. But this is sacrament of Christmas. Now the sacrament is something that you honor, that you think Jesus did or said during his life. And I'm talking about him as a prophet. I make an act of faith toward all humankind, where doubts linger and suspicions brood. I make an act of joy toward all sad hearts, where laughter pales and tears abound. I make an act of strength toward feeble things, where life grows dim and death draws near. And I make an act of trust toward all life, where fear presides and distrust keeps watch. I make an act of love toward friend and foe, where trust is weak and hate burns bright. I make a deed to God, and please change that to whatever language means that the spiritual growth inside of you all your days, and look out on life with quiet eyes. We use the words, we've heard the words, what recipe will you use to give the world hope? What recipe will you use to give the world light? And what recipe will you give to give the world joy? There's the despair in the world. There's sadness in the world. There's hate in the world. What will you do to help dispel it and give us all peace? How will you love?
Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind, should all acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne, for lang syne, my dear, for lang syne, will take a cup of kindness yet for lang syne.
As I was coming in for the service this morning, I could not help but notice the beautiful and gorgeous collage artwork that is right here. I would definitely urge every one of you to spend a few minutes. It's beautiful. And this is what I wish to all of you for 2022, a beautiful collage of memories with your loved ones. So as we conclude the service, Happy New Year to you all. In Gujarati, they say, Nava Varshnu Abhinandan, Sal Mubarak. And once again, I end the service with the Christmas prayer, beautiful words from Howard Thurman. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the king and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among others, and to make music in the heart. Thank you all. Blessings of the season.
Now, this is when Chris says something about the prophetic church. I pretend. I'm saying, go out and do work. Go out and seek love, joy, and despair. And the reason why I say seek despair, it will be your job to eradicate it. Amen. Go in peace. And hey, greet your neighbor.
Thank you.